Rupert was a man who had it all: money, power, everything money could buy, except perhaps a heart. One night, over brandy and cigars, Rupert's friend, Lord Cavendish, proposed a wager. "Marry a beggar for a month," he chuckled, "and I'll give you £1,000,000. Rupert, never one to back down from a challenge, accepted. Rupert thought it would be easy. He was blinded by his wealth, convinced that everyone had a price. He saw the world as a game he could easily win. Little did he know this bet would change him forever. Her name was Eliza. She lived a life far removed from Rupert's world of luxury. Eliza spent her days on the cold, hard streets begging for scraps to survive. One day, a finely dressed man with eyes as cold as steel approached her. It was Rupert. He offered her a deal, a month of wealth and comfort, in exchange for her hand in marriage. Eliza, desperate and seeing no other way out of her predicament, reluctantly agreed. Eliza didn't trust this man and his sudden generosity. However, with a heavy heart and a gnawing fear of the unknown, she accepted his offer. A roof over her head and food in her stomach were luxuries she couldn't afford to refuse, even if it meant binding herself to a man whose true intentions remained a mystery. The wedding was a spectacle, a lavish affair, the talk of the town. Rupert, in his finest suit, looked every bit the millionaire he was. Eliza, adorned in a beautiful but borrowed gown, looked completely out of place. Her eyes, filled with a mixture of apprehension and sadness, betrayed the facade of the joyous bride. Whispers followed Eliza throughout the day. Whispers questioning her motives, judging her sudden rise from poverty to riches. The weight of their stares, heavy with speculation and disdain, made her skin crawl. The day's festivities ended. Rupert and Eliza retired to their grand honeymoon suite. The room was opulent, filled with expensive art and luxurious furnishings. Yet, an icy silence hung heavy in the air. Rupert, maintaining a safe distance, treated Eliza with cold indifference, seeing her as nothing more than a pawn in his twisted game. Eliza, overwhelmed by the grandeur of her surroundings, felt a sense of isolation wash over her. The chasm between her life on the streets and this opulent cage of wealth felt insurmountable, amplifying her feelings of loneliness and uncertainty. Later that night, Rupert noticed Eliza was crying softly. He watched her as she clutched a worn, leather-bound book. Curious, he moved closer. "What is that?" he asked, his voice devoid of any warmth. "My mother's diary," she whispered, clutching it to her chest. As she began to read from the faded pages, Rupert's world shifted on its axis. Eliza's voice, filled with a melancholic longing, painted a vivid picture of her childhood. She spoke of a loving father, a kind man who always put his family first, a man who had worked tirelessly at a factory on the outskirts of town. Section 6. The Truth Unravelled. The diary entries described a fateful night, a night that changed Eliza's life forever. The factory caught fire. Her father, a hero till his last breath, died saving his fellow workers. The diary entry ended abruptly after that, leaving a pregnant silence hanging in the air. Eliza, her voice thick with unshed tears, looked up at Rupert. "The factory," she choked out, her eyes searching his. "It belonged to your father." The truth struck Rupert like a bolt of lightning. His father's relentless pursuit of profit had cost lives, innocent lives, including the life of Eliza's father. Section 7. A Change of Heart. The diary's words pierced through Rupert's heart, shattering the wall of indifference he had so carefully erected around himself. Eliza wasn't just a pawn in his game. She was a constant, painful reminder of his father's sins. He saw her pain, her resilience, and for the first time, he felt a pang of guilt. Rupert realized the true cost of his wealth. It wasn't just money. It was built on the sacrifices and suffering of others. The realization hit him hard, leaving him reeling from the sheer weight of his ignorance. He had been so blinded by his privilege that he had failed to see the human cost. Section 8. Redemption's Embrace. Days turned into weeks. Rupert, his heart heavy with guilt and newfound empathy, began to change. He treated Eliza with kindness and respect, listening intently as she spoke about her life, her dreams, her fears. He saw her strength, her compassion, and he was drawn to her genuine spirit. Gone was the cold, calculating Rupert. In his place stood a man humbled by the realization of his own ignorance. He spent his days trying to make amends, starting with Eliza. He used his wealth to help her reconnect with distant relatives and build a better life for herself. Section 9. The Wealth of Humility. The month flew by. Rupert, no longer interested in the bet, realized he had won something far more valuable. He had found redemption in the most unexpected of places, in the eyes of a woman he had initially deemed insignificant. Eliza, touched by his genuine transformation, saw past his wealth and recognized the good man he had become. Rupert had started the bet believing he had it all. He ended it realizing he had nothing but his wealth. He discovered that true wealth lay not in his bank account, but in the kindness of his heart, the empathy he felt for others, and the love he had found with Eliza. His journey taught him that humility and compassion were far more valuable than any amount of money. It was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life.